This one goes out to everybody with an arch nemesis. A 5, 6, 7, well,
the best revenge is a life well lived.
In the other guy's house with the other guy's wife.
See, here's the thing. My senior year of middle school was rough, to put it gently. Those who know me well know that it was an incredibly tumultuous year filled with some of the worst events of my life. Without getting into too much detail, I'd easily say it's the worst year of my life. And yet, out of all that bad, there was one really good thing that came out of it. Senior year of middle school is the year I started watching a show called The Flash. Yeah, Flash got me through the worst year of my life. And also the preceding 4 other worst years of my life that most American youths refer to as public high school. And through loving The Flash, it exposed me to the rest of what fans and eventually producers came to call the Arrowverse. Because Flash was a spin-off of Arrow, and both of those tied into their successors with Legends of Tomorrow, Supergirl, Black Lightning, Batwoman, Vixen, and Freedom Fighters The Ray all contributing to a pretty impressive and extended universe of deeply connected TV shows. Also, Constantine got added retroactively, that was kinda nice. And now here we are, in the year of our Lord 2023, and The Flash remains the last show standing, the last man in the race. And though I haven't actively watched since Season 6 started, it would feel wrong if I didn't put this to bed once and for all. If I didn't share in the love of this universe that helped make me as big a dork as I am today. If I didn't say my goodbye to an old friend with the help of an old friend. Our goodbye to the Arrowverse. Obviously, the show that started the Arrowverse deserves a highlight first. The show differs greatly from the comic book version of Green Arrow. Turning the snarky socialist superhero into a grimdark vigilante on a revenge quest is a very obvious sign that they wanted to make a Batman show that they couldn't get the rights for, punctuated by the later inclusions of Batman-associated characters like Ra's al Ghul and Anarchy. Arrow, as a show, was plagued with some of the most insane things that could happen in a comic book adaptation. Nixing the hero's main sidekick pretty fucking quickly and relegating him nearly to a cameo when he shows up throughout the show's history. Completely recharacterizing your protagonist in the source material. Whatever the fuck happened with the adaptation of Black Canary, and of course, starting the show with this gritty, grounded reality and ending it with Oliver becoming the physical manifestation of God's divine wrath and rebooting the entire multiverse. But with all that in mind, Arrow had plenty of really cool things to offer. John Diggle is probably one of the best OCs in any comic book adaptation. This scene bangs.
I am the Green Arrow.
Hell, even for all its faults, Arrow Season 5 gave us one of the darkest episodes of the entire Arrowverse, a literal interrogation of Oliver's character that culminates in this insanity.
You don't kill because you have to, so why? Why do you do it? Because I wanted to. What? I wanted to. I wanted to! And I liked it!
And we still have to like Oliver after this shit. Obviously, the show suffered from a lot of things that shows that run for 8 seasons suffer from, and more than a few adaptations and original characters that didn't work in the slightest, but we wouldn't have an Arrowverse without Arrow. So, even though Arrow isn't my favorite comic book show or Arrowverse show, I gotta respect it.
The House of El. That distinguished S. That diamond shining in the sun. No, I'm not talking about the big blue Boy Scout. His story already happened long ago. The Girl of Steel made her debut in October 2015, much the same way her cousin did. Alex, her sister, was on a plane running a crash course into National City, and Kara couldn't sit idly by and just allow someone she loves to die so callously. Faster than you can say Kryptonian, Kara burst through the skies and manages to redirect the plane into the bay, then slip away before she got recognized. That was the night, or at least the catalyst, for Kara Zor-El, Kara Danvers became Supergirl. I recently went back and finished Supergirl after losing track of it after Season 5. But, after further introspection, one constant theme rang true in my head. Identity. Beyond Kara, a lot of major character arcs in the show are built around who they are, what role they play in the team dynamic, and who they want to be going forward. I believe I have 3 characters who immediately come to mind on who this fits. So let me turn my attention first to Superman's best pal, James Jimmy Olsen, aka the First Guardian, aka Himmy Olsen, For those who got a taste of a basic Superman comic, or grew up with Superman the Animated Series like we did, you should know who Jimmy is. This kid's never far behind Clark and Lois when the story comes calling, and that largely remains true in the CW adaptation of him. But a night of stopping injustice opens Jimmy's eyes to a hard truth, that even Supergirl has her blind spots. In that, Jimmy takes up the mantle of Guardian. And Jimmy's sister, Kelly, follows much the same path as her big brother, but understands she doesn't have to be his style of Guardian to be that kind of hero. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't tackle Nicole Maines' character, Dreamer, especially with her surge in popularity, and to be frank, is definitely one of my favorite characters too. Dreamer was essentially thrust into a world she wasn't prepared for. How bad was it? Well, she popped up when a full xenophobic cult movement was happening. Her sister was training to be the next Dreamer, and through being denied, ends up disowning her, and her mom fucking dies. Christ on a Legion ship! But through some guidance, Neo was reborn into Dreamer and rose above the void she felt trapped in, and felt proud of being who she was. But finally, I gotta talk about the GOAT, J'onn J'onzz, aka Martian Manhunter. Easily, two key moments that come to my mind in regards to J'onn's identity happen in Season 4 and Season 6. The first scene has J'onn talking to his father of sort in a shared telepathic space. J'onn is pleading to his father for guidance, but getting quizzed left and right along with being challenged on his hypocrisy. With his frustration finally hitting peak, J'onn declares that he is not his father. That he is not
A man of peace! And if that means I have to give up the symbols and Martian religion has to die, then so be it! At least I will know who I am!
And who are you?
I'm the Martian Manhunter!
chills every time. Season 6 speaks on how, despite J'onn's ability to shapeshift, he stays as Hank Henshaw, more accurately, Black Man. He says that even as a black man on Earth, he's never felt more alien. His odd sense of wisdom is something that'll sit with me for a while.
I fell off Legends of Tomorrow after its second season, but I always appreciated the place it filled within the grander Arrowverse. I don't think it's too much of a stretch to say the show is the most comic booky of all of them, featuring such incredibly insane plot lines as Gorilla Grodd trying to assassinate a young Barack Obama and speaking this line.
Time to make America Grodd again.
I could end this section here and I think you'd get the point. But I'm gonna keep going. The thing that stands out the most about Legends was that it maintained a sense of camaraderie amongst the cast, no matter who was actually on it. The show served as the Arrowverse's island of misfit toys, where they sent characters who the writers didn't know what to do with, like Atom or Kid Flash. And all these characters felt like they had a place, a purpose, a home on this team. It really felt like more of a sitcom than a superhero action show at times, because it focused on the relationship between the characters and the stupid situations they got into via time travel more than it focused on overarching plots to save the world. God bless the Legends writers for taking the side characters of all these shows and not only making them work together really well, but taking the time to flesh them out properly as well. This sort of feels like what Guardians of the Galaxy would be as a show, and you all know how I feel about them. It was a weird show, but I think it needed to be. I think above all its peers, Legends of Tomorrow lived up to the CW's motto. It dared to defy.
Where's the future?
Right here.
Whose life is this?
Mine.
What are you going to do with it?
Live it. By any means necessary.
Am I crazy for saying Black Lightning's place in the Arrowverse reminds me of how Static Shock fits in the DCAU? Alright, hear me out on this. My comparison to that statement is that both shows stood out in a way the other shows didn't. Static was a fun show in a cloud of more serious predecessors, and Black Lightning was an urban legend reawakening against both old and new threats. Each Arrowverse show was exploring origins, but instead, Black Lightning was taking this practical veteran of Freeland and pulling him back into the never-ending war on crime when his daughters are in danger. As the seasons roll on, Black Lightning, or Jefferson Pierce, adapts to new challenges, like his ultimate nemesis, Uncle Ruckus, returning to torment him, Jeff's daughters developing meta abilities, and a whole war with a fictional Slavic country called Markovia even being buried alive. But, in spite of all that, Black Lightning will never stay down forever. But damn, this show felt like watching a sunset at noon. Axing Black Lightning was definitely a sign of the time for the CW coming to an end. But I'm glad the creators tried their best to tie up an ending, with Jeff semi-retiring, remarrying his ex-wife, and forging a new legacy of heroes to protect Freeland. How silly of me not to talk about the two MVPs of this entire show being Peter Gamby, Jeff's father figure and guy in the chair, and Tobias Super Stinkmeaner Whale. Gamby is a man trying to atone for his past sins, helping the government's attempt to effectively pacify the Freeland population with the green light vaccine. Using his assorted skills, friends in low places, and my favorite part, he's just a dad, grandpa, trying to do what's right for his family. And there's Gamby's essential antithesis, and usually the benefactor in every inch of modern fuckery that happened in Freeland, Tobias Whale. A man as imposing as he is intelligent, getting on his bad side will get you lifted 6 feet up, and then promptly tucked 6 feet under. Tobias knew exactly how to push someone's buttons to achieve his end goals and advance his twisted agenda. He violently hated betrayal, setbacks, and most of all, Black Lightning and the
chocolate-covered Incredibles.
Poet to the very end. I miss this show, but in the end, I have to say goodbye to Freeland. Goodbye to the Pierce family, and goodbye to Black Lightning.
So the thing with Batwoman is that I didn't watch it. I watched one episode, and despite my love of Kate from the books and Ruby Rose as an actor, the pilot just didn't really grab me or Omar. But we gotta talk about it, and so I want to talk about the story within the story. The story of why this show had to get a new main character after one season. So for those who don't know, it was announced in May of 2020 that Ruby Rose would be leaving the role of the Arrowverse as Kate Kane after 2 crossovers and a complete and competent season of Batwoman, I assume. It was widely accepted that Rose just quit the show for unknown reasons, though it was hinted to be related to injuries that Rose sustained on set. Long story, don't have time to get into it. That all changed in October of 2021 when Rose took to Instagram to share their side of the story. I won't read all of Rose's story, but needless to say, there was some absolutely horrific shit that happened on the set of this show by their account, including Rose needing to return to work before they were allowed to recover from surgery, and everyone having to continue to work a full day after a crew member's face was literally burnt off in front of them. Like pieces of skin were just falling off. That shit is wild. This obviously comes paired with allegations regarding a certain other DC production having abusive higher-ups, and there was some overlap between that and Batwoman. WB obviously denied this being the case, claiming Rose was difficult to work with and claiming that their account was, quote, revisionist history, unquote. Given Warner Brothers' history of, well, you know how they are and what they do, I tend to skew more in favor of Rose. Whatever the case, I think Batwoman highlights something that really should be. Yes, shows like this create hundreds, if not thousands, of above and below the line jobs, but none of those jobs really amount to anything if those work environments are not safe. Now, Batwoman continued on with Kate Kane being replaced by original character Ryan Wilder, and Javisha Leslie stepping into the Bat boots for the show's remainder. And I would opine on this switch up, but like I said, I didn't watch it. Obviously, we gotta talk about the Arrowverse's propensity for having all of its shows cross over. Obviously, this appeared in small ways, like Oliver showing up at the end of Flash Season 1 to help Barry fight Reverse Flash, or Barry returning the favor in the Season 3 finale of Arrow. But the highlights for fans were the annual events, which told one continuous story over the course of a few episodes from each show. There are also single-episode crossovers, like the Flash appearing on Supergirl and the infamously catchy and adorable musical crossover, but we're gonna focus on the events here. These don't really fit into any of the shows individually, so we kinda wanted to highlight them on their own, starting with the original, Flash vs. Arrow.
Easily one of, if not the most iconic crossover in the Arrowverse, which doubly serves as the payoff long set up by Arrow to have Barry and Oliver reunite. As someone raised on Screw Attack's Death Battle series, my brain would naturally assess in a 1v1, Barry would crush Oliver. Amazingly enough, even with Barry rage amped, courtesy of Rainbow Raider, Oliver's superior training and experience not only kept him in the fight, but motherfucker caught Flash's fist! I do find it funny that for both parts, the antagonists are Flash villains, said villains being Roichi Bivolo, aka Rainbow Raider, previously mentioned, and Digger Harkness, aka the first Captain Boomerang. Also, apparently Barry and Ollie had a proper secret battle with no added villain shenanigans, and Barry damn won. If anyone has a timestamp as to when this conversation happened, let us know down below.
Heroes Join Forces is easily the weakest of the crossovers in my opinion. It really does just feel like setup for Legends of Tomorrow, especially given the episode names of Legends of Yesterday and Legends of Today. It almost feels like homework given the fact that the whole plot of Legends of Tomorrow Season 1 revolves around this special. There's not really anything special, ironically enough, or memorable about this. Oh wait, no, this interaction lives in my head rent-free.
Also, I just noticed, no sleeves. Don't you get cold?
I spent the better part of 5 years on an island in the North China Sea. I don't get cold, Barry.
But other than that, I mean, the unimaginative title kind of says it all.
What's a brief way to explain Invasion other than it was a rad-as-hell crossover? Oh yeah, definitely like this.
No, okay, I'm not saying it's space aliens, right? But it goes without saying it's fucking space aliens!
The real meat and potatoes of this particular crossover is that the Dominators crash land outside Central City. Not only alerts Team Flash, but essentially the entire CW collective heroes. The Dominators capture and later kill the President, and manage to kidnap most of Team Arrow. The Legends introduce the Dominators return to Earth to enact the metahuman extinction event. This is giving X-Men, and I don't know why. Oh, before I forget, it's revealed in the secret message from Future Barry, sent to Rip Hunter on Earth by Cisco, that Barry biggity fucked the timeline again. God damn it, Barry. And the Dominators want Barry's head for it, but everyone managed to talk him out of surrendering. Cue rad as hell fight scene, and everyone sent the Dominators packing. You know something? While the Justice League in name has yet to be formed, I can't help but feel like this should have been the starting point rather than a certain future multiversal Stranger Danger event. Team Flash, Team Arrow, the Legends, and now Supergirl? It's fun seeing everyone getting a little shine.
Oh boy, am I glad I get to talk about this one. I genuinely think this is still the best Arrowverse crossover, hands down. The stakes feel both end of the world and very personal. The whole special hinges on the relationships forged in the other shows. Barry and Iris's long-awaited wedding and Oliver and Felicity's tumultuous relationship bookend the special in a really satisfying way. This is one of those rare cases where I'd gladly sit there and watch these characters do their CW drama out of costume for 4 episodes straight and be perfectly happy.
And now there's Nazis again!
I don't know how Nazis are a step up from aliens, but here we fucking are. There's something almost morbidly charming about seeing Melissa Benoist and Stephen Amell play Nazi versions of themselves. And of course, Eobard Thawne being such a professional hater that he joins up with the Nazis out of spite for Barry. This crossover has some incredibly great and memorable action, with the escape from the camp and the long-take fight in the finale standing out in my mind the most, and easily the best and most affecting death in the entire Arrowverse, the death of Martin Stein. Which, you know, one of the few Jewish characters dying at the hands of literal Nazis is a little bit problematic, but you know. But I will say that Stein's death is maybe the most effective case of the super team's friend dying to bring the super team together more since, I don't know, like Agent Coulson at least. Like, I think it's at least tied with Silas Stone. Overall, it's got some of those strongest emotional moments, best action, and most fun concept of all the Arrowverse crossovers. And don't worry, I will address the other Crisis in a bit.
It's Death Note meets Freaky Friday.
He didn't write that line. That was our friend Martha just put that in the script. And we just kept it because it was funny and accurate.
The precursor to Crisis wastes no time in the opening act, with our first image being a battered Earth 90 version of the Flash, funny enough played by John Wesley Shipp reprising, hauling ass to escape some mysterious new enemy. This new enemy later pops up in front of a man named John Deegan, purposely created just for the show, who works at Arkham Asylum, because nothing bad ever comes out of Arkham, and gives him an all-powerful book that allows him to rewrite reality. One manic Monday later, now we're watching a Freaky Friday crossover as Barry and Oliver have swapped lives. Stellar. They later on squad up with the Super Cousins from Earth 38, and they all team up to fight an awakened Amazo. I never thought I'd enjoy hearing this, but Barry's gritty voice like an early Green Arrow saying,
Amazo, you have failed this city.
And shooting him with a virus arrow to the eye was badass. The Flaro duo later journey to Gotham City to confront Deegan at Arkham, but Deegan slips away in the midst of causing a mass breakout. Barry and Ollie get exposed to fear toxin, funny enough, by Nora Freeze. No, really, by Nora Freeze, like wife to Mr. Freeze.
Bullshit.
That's a real detail. But luckily, Batwoman swoops in to help stop the breakout, and they promptly tells them to get the hell out of Gotham, so they head to Argus to unfuck reality. Surprise, surprise though, after a dire warning from alternate Flash, our mystery big bad, the Monitor, gets that book back and returns it to Deegan, who rewrites reality all over again. It's because two good things can't happen at once in the CW. This change has Deegan cosplaying as a black-suited Superman. Barry and Oliver are a criminal duo, and Kara is trapped at Star Labs. After escaping their respective situations, getting their powers and identities restored, it was a mad scramble to get the book back. Once Deegan is defeated and incarcerated, he makes a new friend. A friend who knows a lot more than what he lets on.
Don't worry, Doctor. Everything is as it should be. The stage is set. Worlds will live. Worlds will die. And the universe will never be the same.
Oh yeah. This crossover has it all. Obviously, this one is kind of the endgame of the Arrowverse, and in some ways, it carries that weight. And in some, it doesn't. The sense of multiversality, to make up a word, is insane, revealing that... Let me take a drink. Tim Burton's Batman, Adam West's Batman, Titans, Smallville, Birds of Prey, Black Lightning, Lucifer, Ryan Reynolds, Green Lantern, Doom Patrol, Swamp Thing, the, at the time, soon-to-be-released Stargirl, and the DCEU itself all exist within the Arrowverse's expansive multiverse. And that's not even including the uses of Kevin Conroy in his one and only live-action Batman performance, the return of John Wesley Shipp as 90s Flash from the last crossover, and Brandon Routh returning to the role of Superman after well over a decade. Oh god, that took a lot of oxygen. But despite what MCU Twitter would have you believe, cameos do not a good story make. And there are aspects of the story that actually really work. Oliver's final send-off is pretty great, his final tribute and the way the characters talk about him all have the weight and respect that they should. The problem is the way the special handles Oliver and Barry's potential deaths. We know that Barry isn't going to die, and we know that Oliver is going to die. Barry and Team Flash think that he's going to die, and Oliver and Team Arrow think that he's going to die. There's a lot of, potential for dramatic irony and tension, but they kill all the tension by just killing Oliver instantly, and killing him again at the end, and they kill off 90s Flash instead of just the regular Flash. Granted, I think what they do with Oliver as the Spectre is really compelling, and I think both of his deaths are actually, effective in a vacuum, but it just kind of defeats the point of a year of build-up. And I think all the Paragon stuff is just kind of rote and boring. This really does feel centered around Barry and Oliver, but Oliver is dead for most of the special, and Barry doesn't really get that much interesting to do. While the special has amazing music, visuals, and clearly the highest production budget of any Arrowverse project, I think it ultimately suffers from trying and failing at being a big finale for the Arrowverse. I think it's great that it managed to unify the Arrowverse under a single prime Earth, but it doesn't feel like the status quo really changed outside of the conclusion of Arrow as a series. It succeeds in doing for Oliver Queen what Endgame did for Tony Stark, but fails to feel like any sort of culmination of progress for most of the other characters. If anything, it feels more like what MCU fans are speculating Secret Wars will be. Action scenes strung together with cameo scenes, or vice versa. Meanwhile, Flash Season 9 seems to actually be doing the concept of the Arrowverse's last hurrah pretty well, and using the cameos effectively. But of course, we know that Crisis on Infinite Earths wouldn't be the last hurrah of the Arrowverse crossover events. That privilege, for better or worse, belongs to Armaggedon.
Forgive me, but I must speak an unalienable truth. The antagonist Despero's plot is comparable to Silver the Hedgehog from Sonic 06. Don't believe me? Came from a ruined future inherently caused by the famed speedster hero with the express intent to eliminate them when the real threat is actually working behind the scenes. Yeah, you believe me now. Despero gives Flash 7 days to prove that he isn't the ultimate threat of the future, and obviously if he fails, Flash dies where he stands. The next few days are rough. as Barry gets suspended from his job, Star Labs are being set to be shut down due to immense radiation, and he had to destroy Gideon. And he went mad and nearly killed Caitlin and Chester, courtesy of enemy meta Zotar. Stupid name, by the way. I don't get it either. But she was dealt with in the coolest way possible, and he discovers Joe died 6 months ago. And yet everyone quizzes him on it, and even Iris said he spoke at his eulogy, and yet Barry doesn't remember it. Despite all these events, Barry does believe he's going mad. So Flash calls upon Black Lightning, who upon Barry's request, saps most of his speed. Again. This man can't hold on to it for 5 fucking minutes. But Barry, with the little less spark of a speed he still has, travels to 2031 and finds Eobard Thawne, who has created a reverse Flashpoint and is the true cause of Armageddon. With the help of Damien Dark, Damien Dark, and the Time Stone, Barry runs like he never has before and manages to revert the timeline to its original state.
As the show that uniquely kept Omar and I's combined interest until the very end, we naturally have to tackle it together and the most in depth, which is why we skipped over it and kept it for this moment. As the last show's still running, pun fully intended, I think it deserves the biggest highlight. I also maintain that it is the best Arrowverse show, even to this day. And thankfully we can cover this one in full, because I watched up through Season 5, and Omar has continued to watch to this very day, so we can cover all our bases here. I know that means this probably should have been a goodbye to The Flash rather than to the Arrowverse as a whole, but fuck it, we're already like 4,000 words in.
Sue us.
Flash Season 1 is both peak superhero TV and peak Arrowverse. Yes, this adaptation of Barry Allen suffers from what some of the others go through, giving him some of Wally's character traits because Silver Age Barry was boring as shit, not knowing how to properly power scale his character from story to story, the fact that they can't just make him blonde for some reason, oh my god, that will actually give me a mental breakdown if I keep talking about it. It also suffers from some of the trappings of being a CW show. The love triangle, the 23-episode mandate leading to a decent bit of filler, everyone looking like a goddamn H&M model, etc. But goddamn, this show starts out incredibly strong. For starters, the show's budget is comparatively tiny for what it is and for how often they use CGI. Maybe Arrow can get away with $50 million a season over 23 episodes, but Flash seems like a far more expensive show by nature. And still, it managed to pull off great-looking super speed scenes and believable CGI characters like Gorilla Grodd, King Shark, and even Solovar. Not to mention great large-scale CGI moments like Barry running on water for the first time, Barry trying to stop a tsunami, and of course, unwinding the tornado. Hell, even the recent Flash seasons have good CGI moments, like Eobard ripping his way through himself. That's fucking terrifying. But to return to the show's glory days, I think all these trappings actually work in the show's benefit. Barry is very much relatable in a way Oliver failed to be at the beginning. Barry is not a tortured individual, nor is he an overly optimistic ray of sunshine. He's a young man with an intense amount of darkness in his past and his present, but chooses to keep moving forward, no matter what, to maintain hope in the face of adversity, to be a better friend, son, husband, and hero, in spite of the pain, the bruises, the blood, and the tears. That's why this version of The Flash has always been important to me. He ran into my life during some of my worst years, and once a week managed to give me the boost I needed to keep on running, to move forward past the trauma and pain. That's why I think I stopped watching on Season 5. Aside from the quality dip the show took, I think around the time Season 6 premiered, things were just starting to get better. Might have something to do with the fact that Season 6 premiered after I graduated high school, that's all I'm saying. I didn't really need that speed boost anymore. But hey, we do still gotta cover some of the show's other strengths, and that means passing the baton on to the guy who still helps keep me running.
Well, y'all are gonna hate me for what I'm about to say, but speeding into Season 6, I'm glad this was a season where they finally perfected the suit after a little over 5 years since Episode 1. The ears are finally wings, and the suit is breathable. Hallelujah! And funny enough, starting in this season going forward, the story arcs were broken into graphic novels, splitting them in half, similar in fashion to the way Black Lightning used books to convey its different story arcs. The first half had Barry face against Bloodwork in Season 6, aka Dr. Ramsey Rosso, and handles possibly dying in the impending crisis. The first half of this season feels like the funeral rites of the Flash. Not gonna lie to you though, Ramsey is definitely a refreshingly menacing villain this time around. It's fascinating how he conducts his acts as a way of saving the world, despite gradually turning Central City into Raccoon City, while also weaving his words and planting seeds into Barry's head. The second half, after Crisis, explores two major plot points, those being Barry's connection to the Speed Force waning, and Iris investigating the organization Black Hole, which lands her in some deep shit. And hell, my boy Wally comes through. Hell yeah for Kid Flash. But let me blow your minds though. You know the OG rogue Mirror Master? Turns out, he's just a construct. The real mastermind was named Eva McCulloch, who goes by Mirror Monarch, who actually succeeds in taking over Central City, bleeding into Season 7. But oh my god, Season 7 was one big what the fuck? Looking back on it, because this season decided not to tackle only getting Barry's speed back, but introducing something from DC Rebirth being the other mystical force of the universe. In total, we would have now speed, strength, still, and stage. Quick run through, because everyone knows what the speed force is. Get lightning, run fast, cool. Strength force, super strength. The still force was damn near time manipulation, and the sage force was anything telepathic. Oh, before I forget, the second half deals with Godspeed's full force return as a whole army, who was already teased a little bit in Season 5, but now becomes a full threat for this season. And yes, that's an actual sentence. We have to process a whole army of him. Who have the most personal beef with this show's version of Impulse, who gets introduced through Jordan Fisher in this show. Team Flash does find the real August heart, and by giving him a taste of natural speed, it restores his memory and his killing intent. But only one man can help the Flash take him down. Eobard the Dandelion Demon Thawne. In the most unbelievably stupidest lightsaber fight known to man and Superman alike. But Reverse Flash will be back. I'm sure of it. Skipping over Armaggedon for Season 8, we brought back Deathstorm. Yeah, remember him from Season 2? Yeah, we brought him back. And no cap, this design is fucking hard. I love how they build up his appearance this time and actually get to Barry to use his CSI job to figure out who he is and avoid accusing the wrong meta of his crimes. We end up losing Frost in the final battle, and the team doesn't handle losing such a pivotal piece of not just their team, but their family all too well. But remember those sources from the last season? For every positive, there must be a negative to balance them out. And a new speedster using the negative speed force appears, but luckily, they want to be a hero for the one that they love. Actually, yeah, that new speedster turned out to be Mina Dawan, aka Fast Track from the comics. I'm glad she actually got to see her shine. Not a fan of her suit, but I did like her arc in this show. But you can't keep a good man down. Like a butterfly bursting from his chrysalis, the demon, Eobard Thawne, is reborn anew and back with a vengeance. And one negative upgrade later, Yellow and Red clash they never have in their time-crossed life with their battle reaching titanic proportions. They destroyed a plane, man! But as far as we know, Eobard is dead for good. But I know that character. He'll be back. And that's what I'm excited for as we run to the end of it all.
I will miss this universe. Sure, maybe every part of it wasn't for me, but I really don't think that we'll see something like this ever again. On one hand, yeah, it's this really cool, connected collection of comic book shows that probably won't be replicated in our lifetime. Over 700 episodes of this shit means you quite literally just had to be there if you wanted to watch this. But if you were watching this at the time, I think the weekly discussion, binging 2 shows back-to-back each night, and the anticipation of each episode in a crossover, it was truly an unparalleled experience. Hell, I don't think I'd talk about comic book movies and shows the way that I do without the Arrowverse. So the experience overall was great, but the stories individually were mostly pretty strong as well. They taught lessons that were valuable. Nobody's beyond redemption. Keep moving forward in the face of adversity. Always be true to who you are. Dare to be different, especially among your family. It's never too late to do what's right, and walk with pride. Heroes to aspire to, legends to live up to. And I know that for longtime fans, it's hard to have said goodbye to all these heroes over the last few years, but it's okay. Dead or at peace, metaphorically speaking. The real heroes are the ones who have to keep going. So, keep going. Just run, my friend. Run.
You have failed this city.
I think the Vigilante needs a better code name than the Hood, or Hood Guy.
I agree.
How about Green Arrow? Lame.
Supergirl is due.
Oh, don't you watch Scarlet Speedster.
Killing every day.
Where's the future?
I mean, we need you in every way.
Right here.
Results. We don't need to see your face.
Whose life is this?
Just to say the day.
Mine.
Come just in perfect timing.
What are you gonna do with it?
And got the blinded. Last night I saw a superhero. He was
Live
black.
it
He said this is
by any means
Black
necessary.
Lightning's back.
This universe.
Fucking Patreon plug, because I never script those. I just come up with them shits in the moment.
Well, it's ironic.
Yeah, because you're literally the one that I have to thank, and you're here. Anyways, special thanks to this bitch.
I'm the bitch, sadly.
For donating to the $10 tier on my Patreon.
And to my buddy Devrick, who donated to the $10 tier like a month and a half after I recorded this video.
If you guys want to help out, I really do appreciate it, because, oh boy, things are expensive in this world. God bless capitalism, am I right? And yeah, I would really just appreciate you donating any amount of money to the Patreon. You get exclusive benefits. There's going to be bloopers for this video, because the three of us have been sitting here. We're kind of fucking idiots. And there was periods where I was making brownies, so I had to stop to keep making the brownies, and we just kind of kept talking. So there's going to be bloopers for this video that are exclusively on Patreon, if you want to hear those. So yeah, please go donate to the Patreon. And if you don't donate to the Patreon, you have failed this city.